think it's essential to have a free speech and to be able to communicate. Just communicate freely if there are multiple opinions, but and just make sure that we're not sort of driving narrative. In order for people to have trust in Twitter, I think it's extremely important that there be transparency. I think Twitter, in terms of like serious issues, can be a lot better in informing people about serious issues. How many times have the media gotten it right? Well, I would say almost never. Not never, but almost never.
In this video, a juicy leak of Elon Musk's all-hands meeting with Twitter. And even better, we also have some leaked reactions from Twitter employees discussing Elon's comments. This is equally parts hilarious and disturbing, so let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store, so check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. First, we're going to watch 2 minutes of highlights, a supercut of some of Elon Musk's comments on the Twitter all-hands meeting. There's a link in the description to the full discussion. I highly recommend take the time to watch this. It clocks in at about an hour. And after that, the juicy part, we're going to look at some leaked reactions from within Twitter employees discussing Elon Musk and the all-hands meeting. Make sure you're sitting down for this one.
I think it's essential to have a free speech and to be able to communicate. Just communicate freely.
Oh my God! What a controversial statement. Elon Musk thinks people should have the ability to communicate freely. What a racist and a Nazi and a bigot and a misogynist and a homophobe and a transphobe. Sorry guys, I don't know what came over me then. Maybe I'm coming down with the woke mind virus.
If there are multiple opinions, but and just make sure that we're not sort of driving narrative. In order for people to have trust in Twitter, I think it's extremely important that there be transparency.
I definitely agree with this point. I have major trust issues with Twitter at this point in time, and they're valid. Why? Well, you see, every time I loudly and publicly criticize Twitter, call out the woke employees, point out that half the company is useless dead weight, my Twitter account magically ends up shadow banned for the better part of a week. Twitter doesn't tell me this, but I discover this when my tweets no longer reach a new audience. I mean, Twitter, if you're gonna fuck me in the face, at least tell me you fucked me in the face. That's all I'm asking, just tell me. That's it. You said something that offended us. Okay, we decided to shadow ban your account because you're mean. Okay, cool, just at least tell me.
I think Twitter, in terms of like serious issues, can be a lot better in informing people about serious issues. How many times have the media gotten it right? Well, I would say almost never. Not never, but almost never.
This is a very important point. The media gets it wrong all the time, although, in fairness, I'm not sure the media is getting it wrong as much as intentionally misleading, deceiving, lying, and trying to push people toward the one true narrative. Of course, I can't actually think of any recent examples of this, especially none that might have had an impact on the recent US presidential election and something about a laptop, and let's just not talk about that. Or, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. I'll probably get booted off YouTube if I talk too much. I wish I was joking. Elon's point is spot on. And there's two groups of people. There's people that understand and know this, or there's people that are currently being hypnotized by the mainstream media thinking they're a reliable source of news and information and never get it wrong, as opposed to almost always getting it wrong. This ain't hyperbole. I'm not kidding. Given the fact that most people watching this channel are Tesla stock investors, here's just one way to look at this, just a tiny narrow slice. Let's look specifically and exclusively through the lens of Tesla. How often does the media get it right when it comes to Tesla? I think I've made my point, but of course, some may argue, oh, well, that's just Tesla. They get everything else right, in which case I would argue, you're too dumb to be watching my channel. Please stop. Thank you.
Can we talk briefly about your political views?
Well, my political views, I think, are moderate. I'm in favor of moderate politics, but allowing people who have relatively extreme views to express those views within the bounds of the law. It's free speech within the context of the law. So I'm definitely not suggesting that we just flout the law, because we'll get shut down in that case. And I think there's also there's freedom of speech and freedom of reach.
Oh God, that's good. Freedom of reach. Speaking of freedom of reach, or a lack thereof, going back to the whole Twitter shadow banning me without any warning or any reason, that's taking away my freedom of reach. My Twitter account has about 100 or so thousand followers. I don't know how many of those are bots, but every time I'm shadow banned, I'm no longer able to reach new accounts. This is not cool, especially given the fact that I'm shadow banned randomly without any explanation as to why it's occurred. Of course, I can probably read between the lines and figure out why, but that's the point.
So I think people should be allowed to say, pretty outrageous things that are within the bounds of the law, but then they don't, it doesn't get amplified. It doesn't get, a ton of reach. I think an important goal for Twitter would be to try to include as much of the country, as much of the world as possible. So the things that I've said about Twitter, I think need to happen in order for it to be, to really go to the next level. I mean, I think the potential is there for Twitter to have be accessible to an order of magnitude more people. Let's say the far left 10% and far right 10% were equally upset on Twitter, then that would probably be a good outcome. The standard is much more than not offending people. The standard should be that they're very entertained and informed.
Some fairly reasonable points from Elon Musk. As I said, the full discussion is linked in the description. It runs for almost an hour. Watch that, get the full background and all the context. But with that out of the way, let's now look at some of the leaked reactions from within Twitter. Twitter employees discussing Elon Musk. This is, as I said, equal parts insightful and disturbing. All right, folks, let's look at some of the leaked discussion within Twitter regarding Elon Musk's all-hands meeting. First one, extremely reasonable, from Zach. Quote, most of the comments in this chat are interpreting Elon's off-the-cuff answers in the least generous way possible. Common symptom of the woke mind virus. Whatever your opinion of him, or your legitimate fears and misgivings about a future under his leadership, it might be worthwhile to keep an open mind. Round of fucking applause, Zach. Absolute legend. Somebody making some sense here. We're off to a great start. A reply to this comment, quote, I have a question for Jack about why he thinks this guy is brilliant and smart. Here's a wonderful comment. A hearty fuck you to the board for selling the company to someone who cannot get through a single coherent sentence about this platform and who thinks a QAnon candidate is a, quote, moderate candidate. Great example of somebody currently infected by the woke mind virus, some of Twitter's dead weight. This is an absolute doozy. Wait, so his position is that people should be able to deny the Holocaust as long as we don't amplify it? Obviously, the connotation here is people shouldn't be allowed to say things even if they're wrong, even if they're stupid, even if they're crazy, even if they're counter to reality, right? We're the arbiters of truth. Now, for the record, I personally believe people should be able to say whatever dumb shit they want to say, as long as, obviously, they're not inciting violence, it's not illegal, and so on. If you're a moron who wants to deny the Holocaust, go ahead. Let morons moron. This shows you the entitled, useless fucking wanker mindset of half the people working at Twitter. They see it as their job to prevent the world from seeing opinions, thoughts, and ideas that they don't agree with. People who think the earth is flat should be allowed to say that they think the earth is flat. In my opinion, I don't think this is a controversial statement. Saying the earth's flat's controversial, but my statement that people should be able to say dumb shit, not very controversial, really. But of course, many Twitter employees see it as their job to protect the world from things that aren't true. It's a good thing these useless motherfuckers weren't around back in the day when we were starting to realize, oh, the sun doesn't actually revolve around the earth. I'm also glad that these useless wankers weren't around to prevent people from seeing evidence in the fossil record that suggests the Earth is a little bit older than 6,000 years. I could keep going on and on and on and on. Regardless of anything, Elon is terrible at Twitter. Yes, Elon. Unequivocally, the most active and prolific Twitter account of all time. Yes, there's a few accounts, I think 4 that have more followers, but they never tweet. There's no engagement because they're not active. But yeah, Elon's terrible at Twitter. Imagine working for Twitter and thinking that Elon Musk is, quote, terrible at Twitter. And the example provided was, original Top Gun is a great movie, just rewatched, looking forward to seeing the sequel. He's so terrible at Twitter. Maybe Mark here can give Elon Musk some one-on-one tutoring for how to be better at Twitter. He literally just voted for a QAnon promoter in Texas. Woke mind virus causes brain damage. Sorry, Jeffrey, but true. Is misinformation and bots included in free speech? Would love to hear from him about all the civil lawsuits at Tesla around racial discrimination. By the way, just a quick aside here, been over this before. A company that employs over 100,000 people. A company of this size is probably going to accidentally hire a few piles of human excrement. Of course, Twitter would never have done this, but occasionally there's going to be pieces of shit that need to be dealt with. Racism's not cool. Sexism's not cool. Being a dick is not cool. However, you have to understand, the prevalence of psychopathy in the general population is about 1 in 100. Tesla has probably hired about 1,000 psychopaths. It's just math. Quote, this is the worst thing I've heard. possibly the most insightful comment in all of these leaked chats. Quote, his definition of moderate is very different from all of us. Now, this is actually true, but probably not for the reasons that Mitul here believes. In my opinion, the majority of people working for Twitter think far left equals moderate. The connotation here, of course, is that Elon thinks far right is moderate. Quote, so I now need to worry about becoming unemployed, depending on whether I'm considered exceptional. You sure fucking do. That's my takeaway from this. And hey, Josh, this is absolutely fair. Elon's going to get rid of all the dead weight at Twitter, and I tell you what, there's a few megatons of it. It kind of smells a little bit entitled to me. You mean if I'm not exceptional at my job, I'm not going to have a job? That's not very fair. Excuse me, BRB, I need to take 4 months of stress leave off. Thank you. Paid stress leave, of course. Y'all told me this man was a genius, with a lot of reactions. Didn't we see comments from Jeffrey just a moment ago? Another one? A good moderate candidate who believes in QAnon. Quote, I'm moderate. What he's saying is not. If his political views are moderate, why did he publicly characterize one of the two major parties as a party of, quote, division and hate? Sorry to burst your bubble here, Eddie, but it's true. Some brilliant reason here from Natasha Rodriguez. Quote, he can vote for whoever he wishes, and that's no one on this chat's business. Round of applause. One of the few exceptions to the rule here in these leaked exchanges within Twitter, somebody making sense and being reasonable. Jessica Pan here responding, it does when the person he votes for directly hurts me. Sounds like Jessica has been assaulted by somebody that Elon voted for. That's what I'm reading here. Some more reason from Natasha. He has the right to vote for whoever he wishes to vote for. That's his right, just like it's your right to vote for whoever you wish. It's called democracy. Again, round of applause. I shouldn't be clapping at such reasonable, fair statements, but they're so rare and exceptional here within the Twitter chats that I gotta do it. Quote, when his biases impact people's lives, it matters. No one is saying he can't vote one way or another, but there's no separation of personal interest to what makes sense for the business. Your comment is privileged. Oh my god. Your comment is privileged, okay? If you ever wanted an example of how the woke mind virus manifests itself, your comment is privileged. I can't take this shit seriously. Okay. Jessica Pan responding again. I agree, he can vote for whoever he wants. Good, Jessica, that's very reasonable. I get to question whether I trust his leadership based off his track record. Yes, Elon's track record, especially in terms of leadership, is not great, so yeah, I'd have some trust issues around Elon's leadership too, Jessica. Good point, good point. I'll concede that one. Quote, queer people cannot trust this man. We've seen this kind of homophobia. Oh, god damn it. Oh, what is, as I said, woke mind virus causes brain damage. We've seen this kind of homophobia and transphobia before. There's nothing salvageable about what he says. Could somebody please let me know in the comments below, where's the homophobic and or transphobic things that Elon said this time or before? I'd love to know. Holding space for you and our other queer tweeps. You can't make this shit up. So a quick recap here. We've seen some insight into the mindset and the thinking, or perhaps the lack thereof, from some Twitter employees regarding Elon Musk. Apparently, he's a homophobe, a transphobe, a member of QAnon, and he's an extremely dangerous threat to democracy who wants people to be able to freely express their thoughts, opinions, and ideas. Elon must be stopped at all costs. Now, in fairness, we may be getting a biased view, a distorted perspective of the leaked discussion within Twitter from Twitter employees. So maybe this isn't representative of the company overall, but it may provide some insight into A, how many useless wankers currently work at Twitter, B, how far left, and I mean far left, much of the company leans politically, and how many of those on the far left believe they're dead center, and how easily the woke mind virus can induce brain damage. Of course, this has absolutely nothing to do with Twitter's past, some of their errors and major mistakes in censoring things that were true, fact-checking things as false that were true, suppressing information, banning media outlets conveniently, stopping the sharing of true and legitimate stories just prior to the US presidential election, all of those kind of things. Definitely have nothing to do with anything we've seen here today. Don't think about that too much. There's nothing to see here. Oh, and by the way, spoiler alert, here's how Elon turns around Twitter. Get rid of the dead weight. I reckon at least half the company is completely fucking useless. And I just want to make sure that everybody at Twitter got that. Just waiting for my next shadow ban. I genuinely believe that at least half of the people currently employed by Twitter are not adding any value whatsoever. It was nice to see a few beacons of reason in the sea of stupidity in these comments. It certainly seems like a very vocal minority, maybe a vocal majority at Twitter, are unreasonably hostile toward Elon Musk. But maybe deep down they're actually projecting insecurities about their own lack of usefulness at the company. In either case, I look forward to seeing how this plays out once again. I think there's a very, very high probability that this deal does close. And I also think that soon after this deal does close, that Elon Musk is going to dump most of the dead weight at Twitter. Massively, and I mean massively, scaling back the workforce. Time will tell. And remember, if you disagree with me, you're a racist and a sexist and a homophobe and a transphobe and a Nazi and a fascist and a dangerous threat to democracy, and you must be stopped at all costs. Your opinion is invalid, and I won't even allow you to share it because it's misinformation. So don't even try, or I'll ban you from my YouTube channel. And I'll also get you fired from your job. And don't forget to join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment. You'll gain access to well over 100 exclusive Q&As, many of which include my unfiltered opinions on all manner of topics. And on that note, submissions have just opened for the latest exclusive Q&A, so don't forget, get your questions in now. Submissions won't be open for too long. So, see you over on Patreon. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Yes, even the useless wankers at Twitter. And I don't mean everyone at Twitter, I just mean the useless wankers at Twitter, which may be the majority, but it's not everyone. Don't fear, however, because I too will be holding space for the useless wankers at Twitter. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.